Hi, my name is Arunoda, and I used to work with Vasal, and I maintain Next.js thing a few years back for about a year, I guess. And then I work on some of the core part at Vasal, and then I left recently just to explore new things. The one thing is teaching. Uh, I start I started teaching Next.js at a place called GetStarted.sh, and also I'm trying new things. And yeah, that's what I do these days. So my goal today is try to show you how to learn React and Next.js. Maybe try to apply that in learning some other thing. Um, so let's get started. So the the question is how to learn React on Next.js. So before we talk about that, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about why learning something is hard. So I myself trying to learn something new every day. If I saw something interesting, I'm trying to learn that. But then I discover like it's hard. I cannot do that. So why I'm having such issues? So then I try to think about this and basically come up with three things. So this three things is not basically coming from any research or anything, just me thinking about the problem and trying to identify why these things. So just don't use this in a research paper or something like it's just me talking. So number one is I need prior information. So basically this is basically very easy to think about. So I can give an example. Recently, I want to. I'm into like a 3D modeling. I started doing something like. So then there's the tool called project called Dane, which is useful. That the reason it's useful, and I'll show you why. So basically, here we have a video, which is 50 frames a second, which is kind of choppy, and then with this tool we can convert that into 60 frames per second. You can see how fluid and smooth that is, so which is really interesting. And then using 3D animation, so this is we can cut down the rendering time, yeah, in 4 times. So this is much better. And then okay, this is interesting. Then I was trying to like, okay, let's see how they're doing that. So then I go through the research paper, which is just 10 page long, not that big, but I couldn't understand how it works. The reason is I need prior information. Like, I don't know the math behind that, and I don't have time to like go through that. So that's a problem, and we definitely need prior information. I mean, yeah, I spent 5 minutes to like just talk about that, which is not needed anyway. Okay, other thing is poor educational content, which is unfortunate, and a lot of tools. There are a lot of great tools, but the educational content is really lacking. That's unfortunate. Another thing is overcomplicated APIs, and yeah, that's also unfortunate. There are trying to like have great tools, and APIs are overcomplicated. Uh, Maybe they're overcomplicated for a reason sometimes, but most of the times there should be much simpler way to do that thing. Yeah, that's interesting. So now let's try to like apply these three rules framework into React, learning React. Need prior information. Basically, you need to have good understanding about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So if you don't have that, I think learning and using React will be definitely hard. And I think the best way to get started is free code camp and maybe places like Code Academy. So that's just go through basic web development tutorials and you're good to go. So that's all you have to do. And then other thing is poor or confusing educational content. I think this is very interesting. If you think about React, it's not something new. It's React is here for I think maybe 5 or 6 years, and there are so many educational content. Some of them are outdated, some of them are like that. So then the problem is trying to find a good course, a lesson, tutorial, and that could be really hard. And if you think about the official website, which is unfortunate, their main getting started guide is based on React classes, which not many people use these days. They try to use React hooks, and So that's the confusion starting from there. I think they did a survey recently, the React team, to understand how to improve the website. I think they will fix it very soon, and that's cool. That's interesting. So the other thing is overcomplicated API. The React itself is not that complicated, and I think it's amazing. It's the API is very thoughtful and very easy to use. But the problem is there are so many tools in the ecosystem. Maybe they are for a historic reason, which is not needed anymore. That add complexity to React, and that causing problems. And so sometimes you try to create a React application based on these complicated tools, and you spend days to get a very simple things done. So which you shouldn't do. You never need to worry about those. You don't need to spend so many time to do a very simple thing. That's how I think. If that's there, like there could be some problem there. So those are the things in learning React, and people complain why it's so hard. So yeah, that's my idea. So let's fix that. That's the goal here. So I think about we need to understand the 20% of React to get 80% things done. So this 2080 is just the number I just grabbed. I didn't measure that. So this is very popular thing, 2080 rule. So that's why I put these numbers. So basically you need to understand the minimum amount of React to get things done. And the other 20%, you can read blog post, tutorial, documentation, or maybe do some explorations and Google. So that's software engineering, like, so other 20%, and that's how it is. All right, let's do a React tutorial. All right, so basically I'm trying to make it more complicated, trying to show you another tutorial. Yeah, interesting. And my goal is not trying here. I'm not trying to give you a tutorial on React right now, because I cannot do that with this limited amount of time, and you're not doing anything. It doesn't make sense. So I create a website called just React, React course maybe. You can think like maybe tutorial. I don't know. So it's a way you can learn React. How I'm trying to teach you my way. So let's do a hello world without doing anything further. So basically here, so this if you present this, let me zoom in a little bit. Okay. Right. If you show this code, this is basically hello world in React. If you just show this to anyone who's coming to React, maybe coming from Angular world, or maybe trying to do jQuery world, or maybe using plain HTML, CSS. So then this is kind of complicated, because we have a function which return an HTML, which is not possible with traditional JavaScript. So that's a problem. All right. The confusion is starting from here. And then you have something like React okay, which I have, you might have seen this, but then interesting. So then that's a problem starting from then. People left when they see this thing, and I did actually very early days. So then now I'm trying to like explain it like this. This part you don't need to worry about it. So this is a job of the React framework, like a Nextjs, Gatsby, or Create React app. So basically, so you can simply forget about this thing, and that's taken care of. And if you think about this function returning an HTML, which is the way how React works, and you can simply use that, and then you don't need to worry too much about that. That's also how to use that, how the inner working, and everything will be taken care of by the framework. So you just need to use that. So that's how I do. So then, yeah, use React. That's it. And another thing is, you can create function like this, and another function like welcome, and then you can use that as another HTML element. So which is nice, which is React. Now you know most of the React. Now you can create function like this and like glue these things together and create a website. So that's what React is actually. Right, then, so another thing we need to talk about is props. So basically props is kind of way we can pass some data to these components, or the stuff you create like welcome, and trying to get things done. And then actually this is wrong. There's a syntax error there. You need to put curly brackets here. I'll fix that when you're actually looking at right now, looking at this. So yeah, basically you can pass some value into a React component like this, and so which is like you pass things in HTML. Very interesting, very similar API. And how you can get these things is also very easy in the first argument. So you can have props and you can simply use them inside the curly brackets. I think this kind of templating, I think the people are familiar with this kind of like templating, which exists in many frameworks. Yeah, that's it. And it's straightforward. You create components and use that, and you can pass data between them. Yeah, that's everything. All right. So now I think there are so many things you can learn about. These are the basic things. Like then I'll try to like go through one more, rendering a list. So this is also a very common thing. So you try to like render a to-do list or something like that. And then so this is the code. All right. Okay. All right, which is interesting. So here let's start from the bottom, because page component here, which is kind of a root component in our this example. So we have a JavaScript array, and we pass that into the to-do list component, and which looks interesting because I can pass JavaScript items, JavaScript values as these props, and which works and interesting and pretty cool. And then problem is okay, that's fine. All right, then let's look at the to-do list component. And all right, now it's kind of complicated, because now we have this kind of curly parentheses, or maybe we call it curly brackets, and there are inside that we have a map function. Okay, there are some things going on there. Let's try to break this and I'm trying to explain it. All right, so now we can see. So we can type something here. It's happening here, and then I put some curly brackets here, which is not needed anyway, because you can simply type learn React without these curly brackets. But then the point is you can put some JavaScript statement here, and it just works. Okay, that's cool. And then other thing is, at this, just like that, you can actually use an array as well. So basically, if you feed an array into React, and it can actually render it very clearly. Oh, interesting. So then so others, how I going from there is actually you can put some HTML content inside this array. Okay, let's see. Right here, I simply create a UL HTML list, and then I put some items inside this array, and which is kind of working and which is interesting. Now I can put multiple items like this. So let me copy this one, because I don't like live coding, which is time consuming, and I don't know how to do that properly. So yeah, you try to like yeah, because it's an array, you can put few elements into that, and you can try to do that. And that's it's basically so that's all you have to do, all you have to learn, and that's this code. And there is something called key prop, which is kind of interesting. It's you have to use that because otherwise React couldn't identify the changes, I guess. I think this should be automated by React itself, but it's not there anyway. So you need to add that key element, the unique identifier to each item in the list. That's something you have to do, otherwise React will complain, and there should be a performance issue with that if you didn't add that. But if this is just a simple web page, that doesn't matter anyway. So yeah, we need to put this key element. And then if you think about the original code I showed you, so basically it's this, like you get items from the props and you map. So it's just a JavaScript map function which actually go through the array and return a new array with the changes inside this. And so basically it's the same thing. And if you're kind of worried about this map syntax, and basically I can show you a much cleaner version. We have a list, and then you put item into a list inside a for each, and you simply render this list. And this is the maybe a shorthand way of using. This is it. And a lot of people use this map function and render a React list like this way. And I think yeah, that's something you need to learn and familiar with if don't like it. Personally, I like this way. It needs more code, but actually it's much cleaner. And the clean code is much better than the small amount of code. Anyway, this is much popular, and if you go through that, and it makes sense. Right, now we know React, and I think you can. There are so many. You can go through the other content in this tutorial and try to learn. And yeah, just go through this tutorial, and just go through all the lessons, and you get the 20% you need to learn React. Right then, so what I skipped. Okay, that's a good question. I skipped React class-based API, and there are some not legacy actually. They're not deprecated. They're still in use, but I think all the new code you should use the React hooks. So yeah, there are some other APIs which you don't need to know about most of the time. But if you're working with an existing project, definitely you have to. There are some code based on these classes, and you might need to learn about that thing. But to learn React, you don't need that. Another thing is suspense and concurrent mode. These are experimental APIs, and which are interesting, which is amazingly cool, but you don't need them most of the time. And I honestly, I haven't used suspense and concurrent mode directly any app that I wrote or any tool I written. The reason is I don't have to. So if you think about suspense, it's a way you can show a loading screen kind of thing while you are fetching things, and it's interesting. And then you don't need to directly use this suspend in your code, and that's a part of the data fetching logic, which will be another tool like SWR or some other data fetching solution, and they will implement suspense for you, and you just need to use their API, and everything is taken care of. So yeah, that's the beauty of it. You don't need to worry about that. Yeah, that's it. All right. And I skipped about recoil, Redux, and all the state management APIs, or maybe not API like third-party solution, because you don't need them most of the time. The reason is React itself with the hooks are really powerful, and you can do a lot of things without needing any external state management solution. And there are some places you might need them at some point, but most of the time you don't need to. Yeah, that's my point on this. So we remove some other routing and other things. Yeah, so this is everything you need. Now what to do next? So this is the important thing, and if you now have a good understanding of React, now you should not try to learn the next thing. So you now need to practice. So the best way to practice is I showed you like basically show you like JavaScript React editor. Basically you can write React and you can see things. Try to find something like that, or maybe try to run React locally using Create React app or something like similar, and then try to practice. Try to see a website, your popular website, and try to clone that layout, just a layout using React, and then you can familiar with that, and you can try to like fetch data and do something interesting and with that if you really want. And then you will find problems, and you need to find problems like how to do routing when you click a link, how to go to that page, and then how to fetch data between those pages, and then there are you might have questions, and that's where Next.js comes in. So then how to learn Next.js, and this is a thing I'm really proud about Next.js from the very early days. The reason is learning Next.js is very straightforward and to the point. So basically documentation is really clear, and there are so many information in the documentation. At the same time, we have a learning guide. So if you want like learn Next.js and just go through the official guide, which is you can complete in a day, then basically I mean like you can go through the guide in a few hours, few minutes, but then if you want to do that, it will take a day, I guess, most of an average. So basically it's straight to the point, teaching you how to use Next.js. And that's good. And there's official way to learn React and learn Next.js, and you will understand everything you need. So just go through this one and try to learn Next.js. And the next thing is practice. Again, practice. So you need to now extend what you build. So basically you clone the website. Now try to clone it further, add some data. Like I showed you something next. Add some data into that and try to make it an actual clone. And then you will again find a problem, like how do you properly fetch data? How do you do social authentication? How do you do proper state management? Then there will be so many questions, and you might have done implement in some way. You're not sure that this is the correct way to do things and so on. And that's where I'm going to help you again. I create a course called Bulletproof Next. So basically it's I'm not saying a best practices. It's just if you're building application, this is the most common way to do that. So basically I try to you can go to this website and it's completely free, and just use it. So basically I'm trying to explain some of the key Next.js things, like static rendering improvements, and I'll talk about those things in an hands-on way. We are trying to implement something with that, and social authentication, adding comments, optimistic UI. There are so many things. Just go through that one and try to understand few things, and then again practice, and that's the way to improve and learn. Finally, we did we start from React. We learn React today, and then we learn Next.js, and we try to get the hands-on experience with how to learn React and Next.js. And then now you can build applications, and when you got questions, and definitely you can go to the Next.js discussion on GitHub, and you can basically you can search Google, and there'll be so many threads you can find on Stack Overflow, Next.js, GitHub discussions, and so on. And you can go to places like in this Discord server. You can ask questions, and also you can go to React Flux, which is a good place to ask questions and get real-time answers. And then so this is a kind of bonus material, and how to master something. And how to master something is basically start teaching. And if you want to master what you have learned, and teaching is the really amazing way to do that. And I'm not trying to ask you to teach and try to get more followers or likes or comment, and that's not the goal here. So when you're trying to teach something, so then you need to explain it to another person, right? That's really hard. If you think about that, that's completely hard. And if you are trying to do that, then you will need to understand what you're trying to learn, and then try to teach, and then you will get a much clear understanding of how things done, and you will do research, and then you create example applications, and that's the way. While you're doing that, you are learning a lot, and that's cool. And if you post it online, share it in many places, and you might not get any comments or anything, and that's fine. There are so many things out there, and don't worry about that. And if you got comments and really good ones, and I think that's pretty cool. Just continue doing that. Anyway, you had to continue doing that. And one of the thing about teaching is actually when you share something like that, let's say you did something wrong, and that's also really good. And if people think, okay, this is something wrong, they will definitely add a comment or simply share it on Twitter, like, oh, this guy is doing it wrongly and in a wrong way, and just okay, people talk about when you do something wrong, and then you can learn from them. So then you can identify how they're doing that, how they're doing this solution, and maybe you are trying to do in a different way, and maybe that's the best way, or maybe you did completely different way, and that's not correct. So then it's a place to learn. So anyway, teaching is really interesting, and it's a good way to master something. Right. So what's this thing? My advice to learn something. Basically, learn, practice, and teach. And you can practice while doing something in the job when you're working something. And if you specifically talking about React, and so basically you can get some references from my Just React course or tutorial, and Next.js official learning guide, and maybe my Next.js course on Bulletproof Next. So this is it. I think I did some good job explaining you how to learn React. I guess I did something. Okay. Right. Anyway, if you got any questions, I think I'll be here on the Discord chat. Maybe I have like a video session right now after this. You can ask questions. We can discuss further on, and you can go to the Discord server and ask questions. We can even I can answer them offline as well. Yeah. Anything you want to discuss about React, Next.js, just ask them. That's it. Have a good day. And I think this conference will be amazing. And see you again sometime later. Bye.